Hey guys, it's Tahira, and today I'm doing a review of Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. If you did not know, and if you've been living under a rock, Kingdom of Ash is the final eighth, I think, and the final book to the Throne of Glass series, and it follows, well, the first book follows a girl named Selena Sardathian who is an assassin, and she is currently serving a sentence in these salt mines, and then she's called by the king to participate in this competition with 24 other people, and if she wins, she'll become the king's basically lackey. She does all the dirty work for him, and ultimately she will win her freedom. That's what the first book is about, but the series changes a lot as the books go on, and it gets more epic with every book, and I absolutely love this series so much. I was so sad when Kingdom of Ash came out because I've been reading this series since I think 2014, right around when Air of Fire came out or Queen of Shadows came out. I think it was Air of Fire. So yeah, I was part of this writing website where they were having a competition based on the release of Air of Fire, and it sounded like a cool premise, and so I looked it up, and then I found out there was actually a third book in the series, and then I picked up Throne of Glass because I found out that my friend from school also really loved the Throne of Glass series, and so I picked it up and I fell in love with the series. Throne of Glass, this series means so much to me. The characters, the world, everything is just, I love it so much, and I get sad every time I think about this book, but I absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, but today I'm going to be talking about some reasons why I loved it and some parts of the book. I also have a full spoiler-filled reading vlog that's like almost 40 minutes long, so I'll link that down below if you want to check that out, because if you want my real-time thoughts and emotions, that will be the place to go. This review is also going to be filled with spoilers, so if you haven't read the book, then I suggest that you click out, but if you have read this book, then that's great because there will be spoilers. So in this book, I loved the characters. I loved reading about every single character almost, except for a minor few. I just loved reading about the characters. Like, for some reason, like, I feel like I loved it more than previous books. Like, in previous books, sometimes the books got a little slow, but this one just was constantly action-packed. The characters were lovable. I found my love for them all over again. It was just so amazing. I loved Elide and Lorcan in this book. They were my top OTP, and they even got married at the end, and even though Lorcan is like he keeps his emotions on guard, he let it through for Elide, and it was so beautiful. I loved it so much. I was like gushing every time I read their scenes together. Adi and Lavasandra was also a favorite parent of mine, but Aelin and Rowan were honestly kind of annoying, and I actually really like the side characters a little bit more than them. Yeah, I really enjoyed the characters and the character arc and the emotional arc of every single character, and where they were at the end, it was just so amazing, and I applaud for Sarah J. Maas for doing that. Another character I really loved in this book was Irene. Irene is a healer. If you did not know, she got a lot more focus in the Tower of Dawn book, but I also loved her and Chaol's relationship, and we also find out that she's pregnant, which is so amazing, and overall she's such a badass girl in this book, and it's just so amazing. One of my favorite scenes in this book was the moment when Irene and Aelin met after years and years. So in the Assassin's Blade, we get a story where Aelin, well, she's Selena then. Selena meets this healer, and she gives her a note and tells her to basically do good things with her life. And then finally, in this book, they finally meet up again, and then Irene showed Aelin the note that she had given her years ago, and I almost cried. Like, that was the most beautiful scene, and I loved that Sarah J. Maas brought that up again, because the scene was so long ago and so many books ago, I didn't know if that would ever happen, but it did in this book, and that was just so amazing. Oh my god, I loved it. Another scene I really loved was Chaol and Dorian reuniting. It was really emotional because Dorian was seeing Chaol for the first time after he was injured and he got healed. He was seeing him for the first time as he was walking, and it was just so emotional because Dorian could truly see the journey that Chaol had been through to get his legs back, and the emotional journey, and it was, again, so beautiful. One thing that kind of felt like the only little critical thing for me is that people were defeated really easily. I feel like there were a lot of like quick battles in the beginning, and I feel like the Aelin's team and whatever, they always won really, really quickly and really, really fast and easily, and I just wanted a little more of a fight and a little bit more of a struggle from the other side, because I felt like after so many books they were just getting them like being knocked down one after one really, really quickly, and that's one of my only critical points. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed this book. Okay, there was one scene in this book where Dorian is a shapeshifter, and so he is basically realizing he's like shifting into different things, and then one scene he shifts into a girl, and that scene is one of the most cringiest scenes I've ever read in my entire life, because it's super awkward as he like navigates the body and he's like learning about the female body, and it's just so weird and awkward. Dorian is also not one of my favorite characters in the book. He doesn't do that much until the very end, and I kind of found him to be a little annoying. But Manon and the 13 were also characters that I really, really loved, and I was so sad about the 13 at the end, because we've seen them as such strong females, which is in the first, like in the other books, but in this one they were like gone, so yep. Another scene I was shook at was the scene where Rhys helped Aelin. So basically, after Aelin basically destroys the word gate, she is flying through all these worlds to get back to her own world, and she flies past Rhys and Feyre's world, and it's described as that she's like goes across their sky, and Rhys, and she sees Rhys, it doesn't say their names, but it's like heavily implied, but she sees Feyre pregnant with Rhys, and Rhys actually helps her by like using his magic to help her get back home, which I was shook, because I was like, crossover, wow, this, I don't know, I just felt so shook when I read that scene, because it just felt so weird. I don't know, it felt strange, but I don't know. I really enjoyed that scene. I think it was really cool of her to bring her other characters from another series into this book, even if it was just for like a paragraph. One thing I really, really enjoyed was the sex scenes, because there was almost none, and there were, the ones that were there weren't as descriptive as some of her other books. Since A Court of Mist and Fury came out, I was kind of worried about how much she would put in, because she started putting in more with A Court of Mist and Fury, and we could see that with Empire Storm, she started putting in more and more. But this one was actually surprisingly tame. I know sex scenes aren't terrible, but it's just something that I personally don't like to read about. And also, especially because this is marketed as a, like, I feel like I could handle it better in an adult novel, and just because this is marketed as YA, I kind of feel uncomfortable reading them. If you know what I mean, like, this is marketed as YA, and some of the scenes in like A Court of Mist and Fury is marketed as a YA novel, but it has very, very explicit sex scenes, and I'm really scared for like the 12-year-olds that are picking this up and thinking this is YA and reading those. I'm really concerned for them. But yeah, I feel like this one was much better, and I feel like Sarah restrained herself a little bit. I know this review is really, really short, but the thing is, most of my emotions and thoughts are in my reading vlog, so that's where it's at. But this is basically recounting my favorite scenes and stuff. And the last thing I want to talk about is the last 50 pages of the book. The last 50 pages were so amazing. Like, even the story, the actual like action-packed story ended. Last like 100 to 50 pages where it's like wrapping up everything and bringing closure for each character and different pairs, and I really, really loved the last 50 pages. I love how Sarah J Maas wrapped everything together, and I really enjoyed especially the last epilogue. We could kind of see what happened after the main events ended, which I really, really enjoyed. Really glad Sarah just didn't leave it off with oh, the war is over and we're done. I'm glad that she spent the time to go into what happened with each character, and the last like words I think were perfect. It's the King's Flame blooming. Like, if you don't know, in Empire Storms I mentioned that the King's Flame was a flower that bloomed when the kingdom was truly at peace and the leader was truly at peace, and when Aelin is crowned queen, King's Flame starts blooming all over this kingdom, and it's so beautiful. Anyway, I have no idea how long this review is. I'm pretty sure it's not that long, but those are basically a recount of what I enjoyed and some things that maybe I didn't like as much. Let me know down below if you enjoyed Kingdom of Ash. If you didn't, what did you like, what you didn't like? I would love to know it. But that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye!